and I burned out again, this time with a sense of adrenal fatigue. How come I'm teaching wellness? I'm teaching meditation. I'm teaching yoga. I'm doing breath work. I have this perfect work-life balance, and I'm still burned out. And that's when I was like, oh, it's not just burnout, it's betrayal.
Welcome to the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, where we have open and honest conversations about co-parenting, separation, divorce, and the hardest question of all, should you stay or should you go? I'm Kate Anthony, your Divorce Survival Guide, and I'm here to help you navigate some of the roughest waters you've ever swum in and answer some of your toughest questions. I've been to hell and back. And now it's my mission in life to help you get to the other side of this process with your sanity and your heart intact.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I am here today with my friend, Betrayal recovery coach, Lora Cheadle. She is back on the show. She was on the show a while ago talking about her book, Flaunt, Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy, and Spiritual Self. Today, we're here to talk about her new book. It's not Burnout, it's Betrayal. 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive. So when expectations break, whether it is in your career, your marriage, your personal life, the real damage isn't just exhaustion. It's the hit to your sense of self and your self-worth. So today, Lora is going to break down why burnout happens, when broken expectations rupture your view of yourself and the world, and how to shift out of it. Really good stuff. Before I drop us into the episode, I want to remind you that there are just a few spots left for Unbreakable. The early bird pricing ends on March 1st. Well, it ends on the 28th, right? But as of March 1st, the price goes up to $3,000. That includes all meals, accommodations, and 3 days of workshopping and being out in nature in Sedona, Arizona, with me and a bunch of other incredible women going through divorce. If you've been thinking about it, if you've been on the fence, first of all, if you've been on the fence, shoot us an email. Let me know what your questions are, and we will answer them. You can reach us at info@kateanthony.com, and we'll answer any of your questions. If you have been like, oh, I want to do it, I kind of do it. Do it. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. The other thing I want to let you know is, as usual, as always, Phoenix Rising has rolling enrollment, which means you can join it at any time. Head on over to kateanthony.com/decided, and you can read all about this beautiful collective of women that meet weekly and day and night in our online community to discuss, to process, to strategize, and to commiserate, and to learn and grow. kateanthony.com/decided is where you'll find information about Phoenix Rising. And now, without further ado, here is my conversation with Lora Cheadle. Lora, thank you so much for coming back on the show and talking about your new book. Exciting.
I'm so excited to chat with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, always, always. So, okay, tell us about your new book. It's not Burnout, it's Betrayal.
As listeners might know, if they remember our first show, I do a lot of betrayal recovery in the infidelity space. I went through my own burnout experience in my career. And then after going through my infidelity, that's when I started realizing, you know what, there's a lot of similarities here. And as I started learning more and more about betrayal trauma and betrayal trauma recovery, it started dawning on me that there's so many other things in life that are not what we are calling them. It's really a sense of betrayal.
So how does that show up from like a burnout perspective? Like what is the link? What are the links there?
Absolutely. Okay. I'm a lawyer, so I like definitions.
Yeah, there we go.
Burnout is described as chronic stress that has been unsuccessfully managed. Stress unsuccessfully managed. Whereas betrayal is defined as the breaking of an expectation that you have relied on that ends up rupturing your view of yourself,
Mhm.
your career. The resulting feelings are the same, but the root cause is very different. Think about whether it's getting a scary diagnosis, whether it's not getting a promotion, whether it's struggling with aging parents. Is that too much stress? Well, maybe in part. Or is it a broken expectation?
Mhm.
For so many of us, we have these unrealistic expectations. I expect a promotion every year. I expect a raise every year. I expect that if I just explain myself clearly, you will understand me and you'll come around to my side.
Mhm.
We have our expectations broken. COVID, that broke our expectations.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Right.
of so many different things. That leads to a sense of betrayal.
Mhm.
Learning how to better manage stress does not address that underlying broken expectation. It does not address that sense of betrayal.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so true. I think about sort of all the expectations I had. Well, I mean, in your marriage, right? You expect when you make your marriage vows that you're going to stay married forever. You expect when I know for me, especially, I expected when I had a baby that it would be, this like idyllic, amazing, like he would just sit and like coo up at me, whatever. And, that's not the baby I got. And right. And so there are all of these unmet expectations. And some of them are, what society puts out and tells us is going to be the way things are. Some of them are our own, our own, like you said, like totally unreasonable. I expect that my mother will be alive forever.
Of course.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. And the key on that is there's a lot of expectations that are just like, oh, dang, that didn't turn out. You go through the drive-through and they're out of the spicy bean burrito or whatever. And you're like, oh, dang, your expectation is broken. But the key is whether or not that broken expectation ruptures your view of yourself or the world.
Mm-hmm.
So how you know is if you've ever been in a situation where you thought, why is this happening to me? Aren't I good enough? Aren't I smart enough? Why does it always happen to me? I try so hard and nobody ever appreciates me. If you start internalizing it,
Mm-hmm.
it's a clue that this expectation that has been broken is rupturing your sense of self. It's rupturing your identity. And that's where the big problems start coming in.
What do you think makes us do that? What makes us take it so personally or make it about us and make it rupture our identity?
So many different reasons. You had mentioned one a little bit earlier, society.
Mm-hmm.
We have all been raised in this culture where fairy tales are a thing. Like, if you just do good, people will rescue you at some point. But also the way we raise our kids. And I'm not like poking the finger at the way we raise kids or the way that we're in school, but think about it. If you do the right thing, you'll get the A. Just follow these directions, then you'll get the A, then you'll be the top of the class. What is the unspoken presumption around that? Oh, then you're going to go be successful.
Mm-hmm.
There's all of these make mommy happy. If you're a good little girl, you're going to make everybody happy. So then we're 50 and we're like, what the heck? I've been the good little girl. I've done what you told me to do. And now it's not turning out.
And you're still not happy, right? I'm still not doing it good enough or well enough for you.
Yeah, it's our society. It's our culture. It's the stories we've been told. It's the way we've been raised. Religion, everything tells us if you just conform, if you just follow these rules, everything is going to work out for you. Life doesn't work like that.
I want to back up a little bit to your personal experience of this burnout and like how that manifested for you. Because I know, we've in our last episode together, we did talk about your experience of betrayal and infidelity and how that informed you. So I'm curious about your burnout experience.
I was a corporate attorney. I was in-house for a large international insurance company. I loved it. I loved my work. I loved my job. The insurance company started merging with a US-based company, which meant everything was changing. I had 2 kids under 2.
Mm-mm. Right there.
Right there. Right. My husband's job required him to travel extensively. So he was gone like 2 weeks every single month. And, speaking of like the aging parents, 3 out of 4 of my grandparents were experiencing different kinds of health crises, in and out of hospice, emphysema, cancer, all of that. I couldn't hold it all together.
Yeah.
And it was one of those situations where it's not like I could have done something better. Everything was snowballing. Everything was caving in on me. And I was internalizing a lot of it. I thought I could have it all. I thought I was smart enough. I thought I was capable enough.
Lean in.
Yes, lean in. Do a better job. Why isn't this working for me? Just had kind of this irrational snap that I have to leave. I have to stop. Forget this. And what was interesting about it is walking away, quitting my job, in a way it helped. But it didn't solve the problem because about a year later, I was working for myself. I was doing all the stress management techniques and I burned out again, this time with a sense of adrenal fatigue. How come I'm teaching wellness? I'm teaching meditation. I'm teaching yoga. I'm doing breath work. I have this perfect work-life balance and I'm still burned out. And that's when I was like, oh, it's not just burnout. It's a sense of betrayal.
And what was the betrayal at that point?
First of all, it was my betrayal of my view of myself. I thought I was smart, I was capable, I could do it all. I could have this perfect work-life balance. I could be healthy and fit and manage it all. I really felt like I had been lied to. What do you mean women can do it all? What do you mean we can have it all? We can't. If I can't, what am I doing wrong? So that was part of it. The whole aging thing too. What do you mean my grandparents are going to live forever? I'm just having babies. We're just stepping into this life. I need you now. What do you mean you have cancer? And now all this attention is going over to the cancer. It's no. It's about we're growing this family. And then same thing on the marriage front. What do you mean I have to parent alone? What do you mean I have to single parent? I got married because we're in a partnership. And that was a huge betrayal too. Now you're telling me I'm a single mom and this is all my problem? I'm married. Wrongo.
Okay, so you had this adrenal fatigue. So what did you do?
I stopped. I stopped doing some things. I really started trying to do more. And that was the mistake that I made. I stopped. I tried to heal. But then I thought adding more things is going to help. I'm going to add in daily 10-minute meditation. I'm going to add in more workouts. I'm going to add in more time with my friends. And then it got into this cycle of perpetually feeling like a failure. I fell asleep last night and I didn't meditate. I'm not doing my gratitude journal. So then it just starts taking you down because I kept putting things on instead of taking things off and dealing with some of those deeper issues, which were, Lora, you are a quality person, even if the house is a total wreck and your kids are running amok. Lora, you deserve to be loved and held and seen. You don't have to worry about being perfect for your partner. You get to show up. You get to relax. None of these external things matter. That's hard to realize. And that's hard to, I think, accept as a woman too. What do you mean I don't have to perform?
Men have it in different ways, whether it's providing, earning, all of those things, whatever. But we have it in the, I have to be skinny and I have to be hot and I have to have my house perfect and I have to have these perfect children and. Oh
yeah.
Right?
I mean, the birthday party scene. I have to have the great birthday parties and I have to look cute while doing it. Oh my God. On.
So you were talking about like adding things in, right? The meditation and the working out so when you started taking things off, like what did you take off? What sorts of things did you allow? Obviously cleaning up the house, like letting your kids not be perfect. How did that not cause you more stress as a perfectionist?
It does. And I think that's that dance you do. It does. At first you're like, I can do this. No, I can't. It had to get to a crisis point. It had to get to that crisis point of, oh my God, now there's infidelity. I can't cope. It had to get so bad that I had to let it go for survival. That's when I really started realizing I could have let so much of this go earlier.
So, yeah, so it coincided, like the infidelity piece just sort of happened in the midst of all of this.
Exactly.
Ugh.
No, which, yeah, which was not fun. And then in the middle of all that, also the trauma kicked me into early menopause.
Yay.
Yay, that's a fun thing. But again,
Right.
it's like since I couldn't fully let it go on my own, it's like the universe comes in and says, "Okay, Laura, here we go.
Yeah.
Brick wall."
You're not listening. So
Yeah.
here you go. Here's your kick in the face.
Yes.
So practical strat, you've created a method, as you do because you're so good with this, your Fuel Up Burnout Recovery method. Can you walk us through a couple of steps of that and
Oh,
how
absolutely.
you recommend people deal with this stuff, this burnout?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, because I like to do this, Fuel Up is about fueling you up. It's about fueling you up from the inside. It's not about decorating my house and losing 10 pounds. It's about that internal fueling up.
Mhm.
And I think the three most important steps, well, they're all important, but the F stands for find your why.
Mhm.
Why are you doing this? And I really encourage people to go deeper because I would say originally, why are you doing this? Because I really want to be successful in my career, because I want the perfect home and family. No, no, no. That's all about self-worth. I'm putting on these external airs. I'm building things up because it's my self-worth.
So when you say find your why are you doing this?
Mhm.
You don't mean why are you doing this program? Why are you reading this book? Why are you doing all of the things that you're doing that are contributing to your burnout?
Yes.
I see.
Why
Uh-huh.
why are you leaning in so hard?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be personal, it can be professional. I am leaning in because I really want this professional status. That's fair. It can also be aspirational. I'm leaning in to save the world. I really need to save the world. I'm so passionate about stopping sex trafficking, child abuse, whatever it is. It can be that inspirational, and it can also be very practical. I'm doing this because I need to pay the bills.
Right.
I have to do this. I've got to make a certain amount of money. Find whatever that why is for you and don't be afraid of calling it for what it is. Some people think if it's practical, like I got to pay the bills, I want to send my kids to college, that it's not good enough.
Right. It's not worthwhile. Right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
lean into it for whatever it is for you. Figure out why you're doing what you're doing. It's that radical self-honesty.
And how do you feel like that helps in the process? Like what does that do for us?
Oh, it does so much because it clarifies. So many of us are fabulous at dancing around the issue. Here, and then I'm doing it over here, and then I'm doing it forces you to start calling it for what it is. I need, I want, I desire. Name it. It's the
Okay.
whole if you can name it, you can claim it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want that?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I want a perfectly clean house? It takes a while to uncover those layers and to figure out why is that so important to me? Why am I sacrificing my sleep to get up and vacuum the family room before bed? Why am I doing that?
Wow. Were you doing that? Woo.
I was. It was part of this whole, I would work all day, I'd take care of the kids, and I'd be like, I got to put the dishes away and I've got to vacuum the kitchen and the family room before bed. Why?
Wow.
Extreme lack of, it was my way of managing. It was something that I could control. I couldn't control that my grandparents were dying. I couldn't control the way the cancer was progressing. I couldn't control my husband's schedule. I couldn't control what was going to be thrown at me at work. But you know what I could control? I could control the way my house looked before bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
when I got there, I could be a little more kind and compassionate to myself. Sweet Laura, this is so hard for you. I
Yeah.
know why you're doing this. If this makes you feel better, by all means, get up and vacuum. And if not, if you're tired, sweetheart, go to bed.
Go to bed.
It's all okay. But
The
it's
crumbs will be there tomorrow.
the dog hair, it's all there.
Right. And so I guess I'm hearing in this that this clarifying your why really is because some of it is really empowering. Some of it is clarifying that like, yeah, you're doing this because you do want to end sex trafficking or, whatever it is that our deeper whys are, but also clarifying in the like, oh, because I think I'm controlling something and it's actually not providing me with the satisfaction that I'm seeking. So I can let it go.
Yeah. And then sometimes it was giving me that satisfaction. Sometimes that satisfaction of, you know what? They're in hospice, but I can do this. Sometimes that was good for me. So
Yeah,
it's
sure.
that's good.
Right. And so you're not on autopilot. You're not functioning from the unconscious. You're actually actively choosing what you're doing because you understand yourself in it.
Yes.
So what's the you?
The you is similar to that. It's about uncovering the root cause. And what I always challenge people on is, are your solutions working? It's like if you go to the doctor and you get an antibiotic and it's the best antibiotic on the market and you have the common cold and you take it, it's not going to help.
Right.
Because antibiotics don't touch common cold. So why are you keep doing the same things that you're doing if they're not giving you relief? Uncovering. I love therapy. I'm a proponent of therapy. But if it's not giving you the relief you need, maybe you need to look into coaching. Maybe you need to look into just listening to some podcasts and reading. If you've listened to podcasts for 5 years and have had zero change with anything, what can you add in?
Yeah. Right. Maybe it's time for therapy or coaching. Right.
Exactly. So uncovering what's really going on, because again, you nailed it. It's that autopilot thing. Well, I'm fine. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for 35 years.
My former best friend, used to say that all the time. She'd be like, I've been in therapy for a decade. So obviously we would all, eventually we would be like, I don't think you're bragging the way that you think you are.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And then the E in Fuel Up, this is where really the rubber hits the road. It's expectation management. Are your expectations realistic or idealistic? And here's how to figure that out. You should be able to identify, communicate, and then advocate on behalf of your expectations. So an example at work is, do you expect to get a paycheck? Yes, I do. If that expectation is broken, can you identify what the problem is? Yes, I didn't get a paycheck. Can you communicate that? And can you communicate to the right person? Absolutely. I can go to HR, I can go to payroll, I can tell them. Do you know how to advocate on behalf of yourself? Yes, I can pull out my employment contract, I can share state laws, I can do whatever. It's a very realistic expectation, and you are empowered to change it. Versus when I talked about my own belief that I could have it all. What is that expectation? Well, that's a little harder to communicate. I thought I could be perfect. Is that what? Who do you communicate that to? The world, God?
The world, right? God.
I mean, who do you communicate? This isn't where I thought my life was going to turn out to be. Who do you go to complain about that? And then how do you advocate on your own behalf to get those needs met? I can't.
Yes.
So that lets you know that's an unrealistic expectation. These are things you need to start unpacking and figuring out, because that's not realistic. And then if you need help with the advocacy piece, get help with the advocacy piece, because that's a whole other layer too. How do we speak up? How do we use I statements? How do we use boundaries? How do we use persuasive communication to get what we want?
How do we tell our husband that his travel schedule is really impacting our family? How do I tell my, whatever it is, right? My mom that I can't come over every single day and fix the printer. Right?
Yes. And that's why I mentioned, the I statement, that I statements and boundaries are huge. When I can say, I am feeling overwhelmed by your travel schedule versus your travel schedule is making me insane and I didn't sign up for this. And do you know that you've been gone 10 out of 10? That's not helpful.
Right. That will never be heard.
No.
I am overwhelmed by your travel schedule. Is there any way that we as a partnership, as a family, can come up with some solutions, or how can we solve this problem? Right? Because if it's a problem for me, it's a problem for us.
Absolutely. And then boundaries around that too. Not like, if you don't do this, I'm going to hire a nanny. I am overwhelmed. I need support in the evenings. I am going to see if there's a high school person who can come down the street and maybe help me out for an hour so I can organize the house.
Mm-hmm.
I am telling you what I'm going to do. They have a problem with it, they can adjust, but I'm solving my own needs. I'm
Mm-hmm.
advocating on behalf of myself, and I'm doing what I need to feel better.
Yes. Okay. The L.
Yeah, the L sounds so trite, but it's laughter. Laughter is the number one way to calm and regulate the nervous system through so many different resources. And when we're stressed, we go into fight, flight, or freeze. We move from the prefrontal cortex into the limbic system of the brain, and we are not rational and we are not reasonable. And then life is not fun or enjoyable. So it's looking for those moments of levity. There's a lot of serious stuff. Life is always going to be hard. It's always going to be serious. What are those funny moments that you can have along the way? The biggest thing that I recommend, because we're all pre-programmed with the bias towards negativity, it's a safety mechanism. We look for what's wrong so we can avoid it. Practice noticing and commenting on 5 things a day that you find humorous, ironic, joyful, because it starts rewiring your brain to look for the good.
Yeah.
So if I can be like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Stressful political meme, something like that. Okay, so what's funny that I can see now on Instagram? Let's look at the babies and the puppies. Let's not go there.
God invented memes for a reason because, I recommend having that group chat with whoever where you're just sending memes back and forth all day. Like, do it.
Yes. Same thing in your marriage, in your relationship. It's going to be tough. What's funny? What are 5 things that you can notice about your partner, even when you're in a fight, even when you're feeling disconnected? Notice those funny things. Watch a comedian together. Do something to laugh. You get your brain back, you get your heart back, and you just have a lot more fun.
Yes. I love that. I love that. So many times it depends on your relationship, right? But if you're in the middle of a fight and somebody cracks a joke, you can just, it shifts you right out of your fight mode into, okay, this is ridiculous. Or, okay, we needed that break.
And even like with traffic, if you're listening to one of the comedy channels, or if you've got something, on Spotify that makes you laugh, you're going to want your commute to be extended. You're happy and you're grateful for the traffic jams because you got more time listening to your funny book or whatever it is.
We have 2 more letters up. Yes, they're part of it, right?
Yeah. And that's all in one. That stands for unbroken promises.
Oh, that's right.
And this is a big one because how often do we break promises to ourselves?
Oh, daily.
Daily.
Minute by minute.
Yeah. If somebody else broke promises to you at the rate that you break promises to yourself, would you trust them?
Yeah. No.
Would you want to be in a relationship with them? So why are you doing it to yourself? People say, I don't trust men, or I don't trust the world, it starts with you. Right. Of course you don't trust anybody else because you don't trust yourself. It all comes back to you. And how can you go back to making unbroken promises to yourself? Identifying your values, living in alignment with that, saying no when you mean no, saying yes when you mean yes, leaving work at whatever time, telling your kids no, whatever it is. Just start being aware of all of the promises that you break to yourself. And then get accountability partners, get coaching, find communities that you can join that can help you stay accountable to yourself. Because when you know you've got your own back, you'll start trusting other people, and other trustworthy people will start coming into your world as well.
So I'm thinking about my audience right now, right? And I have a lot of listeners who are high income earners or just, work really, really hard. They're also struggling with their marriages or they're going through divorces. They are usually effectively acting as single parents in their homes, right? Yes. They're doing everything, but like legitimately, they've got all these balls that they're juggling. Like they're real, right? They're not just putting pressure on themselves right? They're going through a lot.
Yes.
Finding their why and all of those things, like totally Like they might be able to grasp all of that, but still feel overwhelmed. Like there's nothing I can remove. There's nothing. So
Right.
what advice would you give people in this, like they're in this juncture, right?
Yes. Been there. I know
Yeah.
exactly. I know exactly what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest thing that I want you to know is sometimes cognitively thinking about everything that you have to do is so much harder than experiencing it in the moment. In the moment, you can get there. Planning is great. Organizing is great. Trying to calculate when you're throwing a ball, when you're catching it. I get that. In the moment is really where life happens. In the moment is where it matters. And in the moment is where you can decide if something gets let go or not. In the moment is when you can return to, I just want to do the best that I can for my kids right now. I just want to show up as not a screaming psychotic parent right now. I just want to feel some peace and go to bed happy right now. I don't need to figure out
Right.
what might or might not happen with my marriage right now. It's just
Mhm.
constantly returning to that moment, constantly, constantly, constantly. I know too, as a high achiever, the practice of law is pretty intense. It's always out there. It's always trying to be defensive and proactive. And when I would just drop in, that's truly where the magic is. And it sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous sometimes, and it sounds overly simple, but it shifts everything. Just be where you're at.
And then there's a practice to that, obviously. I mean, mindfulness is a practice that
Yes.
we've got to practice in order for it to be accessible to us in those moments. Right.
Yes.
And then I'm remembering you saying that, like, well, you're meditating. Oh, you have to meditate every day and do this. Right. And it's like, oh, wait, I have to start a mindfulness practice in order to be but like now I have to add that on so that I can be present in those moments.
And I love that you said that, because to me, that's the difference. It's the doing versus the being. I don't have to do mindfulness. I don't have to set my timer and sit in the right position. I don't have to, close my office door. It is being. How can I be in the chaos of this stress-filled meeting and just be in the
Yes.
presence of this stress-filled meeting?
Mhm.
How can I be with crying kids and trying to get in the door and drop my computer bag? And, how can I just
Mhm.
be in that moment? It's not adding anything.
Mhm.
It's the fullness and the breadth of just being, not doing.
One of the things that I will have my clients do is carry a worry stone or put on a bracelet, beads, a necklace with beads, something that it'll remind you, right, that, oh, right, I'm here. Oh, right. It's similar to putting a rubber band around your wrist and snapping it, right? Because it shocks your system into like, oh, we're right here. Oh, we're here. Those grounding exercises, sometimes we need a reminder of them. So it's like, don't think that you're going to reach for the bracelet that you're already wearing. Get something new. Get a beaded bracelet that feels maybe kind of weird. And then you're like, touch it and you're like, oh, right. I'm here.
Yes. Yes. And I love that you talked about that in the grounding, because one of the things I always do with my people is find your feet.
Yes.
You're walking, you're sitting, you're standing, find your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Feel them. Can you feel socks? Can you feel shoes? Can you feel the earth? What can you feel in your feet? Because you are where your feet are.
Mm-hmm.
Find them, feel them.
That's right. And that concept of, you are where your feet are is like, you're not doing the laundry right now. You're not doing the dishes right now. You're sitting in this meeting.
Yes.
Everything else, there's nothing else other than this moment.
Exactly. If you're going to be getting fired, you're still here getting fired. You can deal with the future later.
Right.
Here now.
Right. If your husband's having an affair,
Yes.
that's what's happening, right? There you go. That's information. Right now you're here and you're okay.
Yes.
I think that's also, when you're dealing with betrayal, it feels like you're going to die in many ways, And so this notion that like, no, I'm actually okay. I'm okay. Yes. I'm still okay. Mm-hmm. And now I'm okay. Yeah. Right?
Yes. Yeah, because it spurs us into either fight. I got to do something. I got to call everybody and I got to figure it out. And, or complete avoidance. I'm going to binge Netflix for 62 hours with 5 bottles of wine. Or just that can't do anything. And it's not taking action. It's not running away, and it's not freezing It's a stillness. It's a being here. It's a feeling the fullness, feeling I feel like I am going to die. I'm not. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Maybe I will. I feel like it's just noticing whatever comes up. Gosh, there's some secret relief coming up. I've needed a new job. I've been unhappy in my marriage. It's just noticing in that moment. It's not doing more. It's going within instead of reaching outside of you. It's coming back home to the one thing that you can control, which is you.
So how does this method, this fuel up method, how does it differ from other burnout practices and the ways that we've sort of traditionally understood burnout and burnout recovery?
Traditional burnout recovery is on stress management. It's how do I manage this stress? How do I organize my stress? What are the tools that I have to decrease the amount of stress? And that's very helpful. And I think most of us need that too. Fuel up is more around expectations. It's figuring out, what do I expect? What is getting broken? It's more around your self-worth. It's more around your identity piece, around expectation management.
Yes.
And dealing with broken expectations, which is not stress management. It's expectation management.
I have a client for you. I've just been thinking about a friend of mine who's going through all of this so much. And she really she's the weight of her whole family on her shoulders. She's got a wonderful partner and wonderful marriage, but the rest of her family is literally they're all just sitting on her shoulders, not literally, obviously, figuratively. And she runs her own business. And she's a powerhouse, and she's a perfectionist, and she's, ADHD, and she's really, she's hitting burnout pretty hard.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you can start managing your expectations, realistic, idealistic, how do I craft and create and stay solid with me and my identity? Then you don't hit burnout. And I think that's the biggest thing. I loved practicing law, but I left because I couldn't handle all of these broken expectations. If I would have known this fuel up method then, I might still be there.
How do you feel like this might shift like workplace culture, right? Because, we're talking about it more on a personal level, but obviously burnout is very specific to the workplace too. How do you see this shifting the culture a little bit?
I see it shifting the culture in some significant ways, because here's the thing. So many, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a law firm, whether it's a small business, so many workplaces get stuck in this is how it should be. As a leader, when you start talking about expectations, you can have a meeting of the minds. As a leader, this is what I expect. As the owner, this is what I expect. Then your expectations are out there. Your employees can better meet you. You can better meet your employees. You know what's going on. And then similarly, like running your own business, how often do we see like the anomaly out there? The one person who I posted 3 times and it went viral every single time. And now I'm, you know what I mean? Doing my 7-figure a month. And it's amazing.
Right.
It's that expectation checking. Did I really expect that when I started this? Yeah.
Because we did. Because everybody said that it was that easy. Right. Of course we did.
Yeah. So on the workplace side, it's managing what's realistic, what's not, and then finding a better fit. Because a workplace culture is really about the goodness of fit. If you want to have a toxic workplace and people want to be toxic, you can find each other and you can be toxic together.
Right.
And if you want to be touchy-feely, you can find that. And if you want to be somewhere in between, you can find that. But when companies don't express, when leadership doesn't express, when bosses, managers don't express their expectations, they are always going to be disappointed. Always.
I love this conversation, as always, because I love your work. I love what you do. I love the way you talk about it and the way you formulate it, because it just makes sense and it's accessible. So thank you so much for this, Lora.
Yeah, thank you. And likewise, the admiration is so mutual.
Where can everyone find you and your Fuel Up Burnout Recovery Method and your book, both of your books?
All of that good stuff. A couple of different places. My website is workplace-burnout. So you can get a lot of good stuff on workplace-burnout. But you can also go to Burnout burnout-or-betrayal.com. Just all one word, burnout-or-betrayal.com. And you can download my guide, Burnout Uncovered. And it's a guide to facilitating candid conversations around burnout for thriving teams, for thriving families. So you can start speaking the same language, identifying expectations, talking about your expectations, and getting your needs met. So that's burnout-or-betrayal.com.
And everything will be in the show notes, of course. Lora, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorce Survival Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in and leave me a review. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, you, my love, deserve to be happy.